this is one of the recipes from my upcoming recipe book, Food for Winter, which I'm really excited about, and it's full of really delicious high-raw recipes and meal ideas to keep you high-raw and really healthy through the winter. So, spicy parsnip soup. Here we go. 2 spring onions, white parts only, so that's the pale parts. Just cut the dark green bits off because they're too strong. They're very strong and oniony, and we don't want it to be too oniony. And then we're going to do 250 grams of parsnips. And I'm using my Blendtec blender, which is, my Blendtec blender is like super speedy and fast. If you're just using a hand blender, you can make this recipe with a hand blender, it's absolutely fine. But what you want to do is actually grate your parsnip first. Weigh it out and then grate it, because your hand blender will be able to deal with it then. Perfect. And then we've got 2 celery stalks, which gives it a lovely savoury flavour. I'm just going to roughly chop them. Again, if you're using a hand blender, you want to chop your veggies really small because it will help the blender actually whiz it round and make it nice and smooth and creamy. And then to that, we're going to be adding coconut oil. So 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And if your coconut oil is really rock solid, you can just put it in a plastic bowl surrounded by boiling water and it will melt your coconut oil. And then the spice element of this soup is cumin and ground black pepper. Now you can use it from a grinder. I mean, I normally use a grinder for pepper, but I just find it easier for this recipe just to use pre-ground. So it's half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, which gives it a lovely spicy warmth and a bit of a kick, and then half a teaspoon of ground cumin. So then we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of salt, and as usual I'm using my favourite, which is pink Himalayan salt. One of the most important things to remember with soups is you must make sure you put enough salt in, because quite often I've had people say, oh, I tried one of your recipes but it was really quite bland, and when I find out, you know, I talk to them a bit more about it, it turns out that they thought, oh, that's a lot of salt, so they put in less, or they didn't quite measure the full amount of salt. So it's really important, even though it seems like quite a lot, if you want that lovely depth of flavour that soups have, you have to make sure that you put the right amount of salt in. So this recipe is enough for 2 big bowls of soup or 4 smaller bowls of soup, depending on how many people you're actually serving. And the water we're going to add to make it nice and warm is, we've got 200 millilitres of cold water, to which we are going to add 400 millilitres of boiled water from the kettle. So this water is just boiled, and that is what is going to make the soup warm. Now, one of the crucial aspects of making raw soups is making sure that you heat your bowl that you're going to put your soup into, because otherwise, I mean, this is not a hot soup, it's a warm soup, and actually it's really comforting when it's warm. But if you put a warm soup into a cold bowl, it very quickly turns into a cold soup, because all the heat gets sucked out by the material of the bowl. So the way that I do this is I just put hot water in my bowl whilst I'm making the soup. So with my Blendtec blender, I'm just going to put it on the extra large smoothie cycle. It's like a special button that you just press and just let it do its business. Once your soup is blended, just get rid of the water from your bowl and it's ready to serve. And you can sprinkle it with a bit of black pepper or a little bit of cumin, just to give it a bit of decoration. Oh, that is so good. Absolutely delicious and so warming and comforting for winter.